On behalf of Lady Linda Davies and the KT Wong Foundation, I want to welcome you to Linda's home in Cape Town. And it's my pleasure to be here today to support the publication of Africa Modern, Creating the Contemporary Art of a Continent, which was produced to try to document the extraordinary creativity happening in Africa today.
The KT Wong Foundation celebrates its 10th anniversary this year, having been formed in memory of my father, Dato KT Wong. I think, first of all, I must just thank Thomas and Echo for this lovely little book here as a starter companion, I hope, to everything that's going on that's exciting and wonderful in South Africa and indeed in Africa.
The idea was to say, look, if the museum is a singular object and a fantastic object, what happens with that? That only becomes alive through the work inside it, through the participation of the public and so on. So actually, if we do a book that is about a particular moment in Africa, then it has to be full of voices. It has to be full of perspectives. It's not about a singular vision. It's actually about a multiplicity of perspectives. And so one of the things I was really keen on was to hopefully have participation in South Africa in terms of some of South Africa's leading artists.
The opening of Zuidsmacher Museum is an amazing opportunity for South African artists and African artists in general to be looked at in a more comprehensive and serious way than they have up until now.
I think certainly it's going to be a lighthouse for a certain type of practice. It's very self-evident when you go in that there's an attention to a very graphic kind of art, also a very pop kind of idiom and expression. I think it's certainly aware of certain dominant narratives across the continent. We need that kind of vision. I think at the same time, we also need artists who are going to trouble that, either within the institution or outside of it, by pursuing their own practice and following their own route.
With the young, particularly today, the younger generation, the millennial Africans, so to speak, who are exposed to so much of the world, so they're absorbing it all and they're bringing it out in their own way, in their own vision.
The kind of language that a lot of South Africans are using is actually global. You can take an artwork that is produced here and put it anywhere in the world. It will actually relate. So in that way, as much as we were isolated before, artists have opened those doors and we want to be international. At the same time, local, because the stories are important here and then outside.
So we can't just think of the art as if there's no politics, connected to it. We can't think of the galleries as spaces for certain few. We can't think of the gallery spaces for a certain kind. When I showcase the images of black, lesbian, bisexual, trans people, and queer identifying human beings, I'm not only coming to the spaces alone. I come with my fellow men. I come with the women that I love. I come with human beings who are black just like me, whose forefathers and their grandmothers never had any opportunities to be shown or to be seen with own consent.
I decided to work with the self-portraiture series so that I could visualize the black subject in a way that was more in control and there was more authority to it. Precisely because most of the images that we see of black bodies in South Africa and in the rest of the continent are images of subjects that are not partaking in how their images are being created and how their narratives are being told. For me, photography and portraiture in general allows for those bodies that have been invisible in society and in history to find expression.
I think the opening of the museum says that the state of the South African art world is healthy, and I think combined with the Venice Biennale Pavilion, it's a great time to be a South African artist.
It's important to be invested in being a part of and supporting creative energy anywhere, really. All this extraordinary renaissance of great creative energy exemplified by the pavilion today here at the Biennale. It couldn't have happened at a better time.
What's dominant at the moment, definitely, in terms of the world market, is its interest primarily in photography. Though, of course, sculpture's always been strong, and from another context, documentary film has always been immensely strong.
You have the commercial sector on the one hand that is relatively sophisticated, so it has a global presence, and you have the universities, which also have very sophisticated programs, many of which developed under the horrific conditions of apartheid. So these two systems are fairly well oiled, but that public space is there's very little there. So it is necessary for input into that public domain with a range of different organizations that do different things. Starting in our case with a look at how practitioners are relate to one another and the resources that are available to develop exciting, ambitious projects.
You know, people often don't think books are spaces, but we have the space of the museum and then we have the intimate space of the book. And I'm just so thrilled to be part of this book.
Africa Modern, as its title suggests, tells you, it is about contemporary Africa today. And we're very proud to be able to bring this to fruition in line with the opening of the museum this year. And we hope that this will encourage the incredible creativity that's coming out of this continent.
One of the things that I really value about the Katie Wong Foundation making this book happen is it sort of captures and pulls together an intensive process that happened over the last 6 years, and so many people's passion and endurance and determination, and I suppose that condensation, that process of editing away, re-clarifies what a project really is. So, you know, selfishly, it's really, really useful for everyone involved in a project to look back, to do that double check. Is that the thing we were doing? Is that what we did? But also, you hope that you're offering it up as an explanation for if anyone is interested in why did this happen, what was motivating it, what did it take, for learning for other things.
The Katie Wong Foundation is very intrigued. This is, we feel, like a stepping stone, really the first platform to discovering a whole new world, a whole new continent of, great creativity in the arts.